The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Ladies and gentlemen, the Church of Lazlo has begun.
Yo, how are you, my man?
Hey, fantastic. How about you?
Good, you look good. I always like you in a button-down shirt.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. I always like you in a black t-shirt.
Well, then you should notice it a lot.
I like it. I like it. You know, one day, this will be snow cones.
You mean your seat?
The shirt.
Oh.
The shirt.
He's gunning for your seat.
Oh. You
That's what he wants.
No. He's just messing with us.
You want to sit here? Huh?
You're going to have to work for it, punk. Speaking of that, your seat, Chiefs fans, just an arrogant bunch.
Stop saying that.
That's an arrogant bunch. I said I love the Chiefs. I root for them every Sunday. But you sons of bitches. But did you see this? The Athletic Kansas City tweet. Did you see that?
No.
The Athletic Kansas City.
What's that?
Tweeted, in case you missed it, Patrick Mahomes has thrown 36% of Troy Aikman's career touchdowns in about 8% of his games.
What was the first percent? How many percentage of his touchdowns?
36%.
36% and 8%.
Of his touchdowns in 8% of his games.
Okay.
Well, thank God someone else is also a Mahomes fan, but is tired of this newfound arrogance. And Troy Aikman just responded and said, in case you missed it, talk to me when he has 33% of my Super Bowl rings.
Oh.
Because we're tired of your arrogance, Slim Fast.
Me?
Your newfound arrogance.
It is a little much, Swim
What?
Fest.
Whoa. What
I'm
the
kidding.
hell?
I'm with you. I'm kidding.
And what's the difference between arrogance and excitement? Arrogance is, we will destroy you
Excitement
on Sunday,
is, this is great. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Man,
Look,
the
can you
Chiefs are
believe
finally
this?
good. We're good as opposed
Look at
to...
these numbers.
Mahomes is so much better than Troy Aikman. Not even worry. We'll beat the Lions by 45 points. You guys are, I guess you're undefeated.
No.
It's just a complete disdain.
No one's saying that. He's playing it up so if Detroit wins, or even if the Chiefs win...
Nick Wright said yesterday they wouldn't even have players on the field in the fourth quarter.
That was arrogant.
They would not even, and you guys agreed with him.
He's playing into your thing. That was
I don't want to
arrogant.
start with you guys.
I did not
I'm just
agree
saying,
with him.
you guys are arrogant pricks.
I gritted my teeth.
The team's great, and Mahomes is awesome, and I love the Chiefs. It's their fans that are really starting to piss me off.
The fans are not pissing you off. That's ridiculous.
Are you a fan?
Yes.
Well, you pissed me off.
I haven't. The only thing that pissed you off is the whole Lions are technically undefeated thing. That's how this all started. Had nothing to do with citing Mahomes' numbers or... That was it. It was a word inserted into a sentence about the Detroit Lions.
We're still doing this. Come on. We said they're technically undefeated.
And I think for Chiefs fans who've grown up never having an elite quarterback, certainly not anything resembling Patrick Mahomes, they have to remind themselves, like, hey, think about this. I know it's hard to believe because it's your city and you're obviously biased because you love him and you're rooting for him. But to put this in perspective, just to remind you how well he's playing, think about this. Because you knew when you were a kid that Troy Aikman was kicking your ass all the time, right? That he was beating everybody. You knew how great he was. So here's a number that should encourage you.
There's a number that should encourage you.
I think you are a resentful Detroit fan. That's what it is.
I'm not. We just used to have something in common. Like, I'm a huge Royals fan. I go to more Royals games than anybody in this city, including you, Danner. And it's not close. But Royals fans and Tigers fans, we get along. We always have. And I never felt any resentment towards the fans when the Royals won the World Series. They were like, man, this is awesome. We embraced it. But you two.
Do you remember that scene in Mad Men where they get on the elevator? It's famous now, and he says, "I don't think about you at all."
Yeah.
I think that's what Chiefs fans think about the Lions.
Don't.
They're not even in the same division.
We don't really, yeah.
They rarely play one another. There's no history there between the two. We think about the Broncos and the Raiders and the Chargers and even the, Buffalo and some of those AFC teams, the Patriots that have taken us down in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we've got no hate directed towards the Lions.
Why would we?
We don't take joy in your
Am I what?
technicalities.
You.
And speaking of which, you as a big Royals fan, I mean, Ned Yost retiring, how do you feel about that?
I love Ned. I think he's obviously a great manager, a great ambassador for the city, but they'll find somebody. They'll be fine.
I didn't know if there was anyone like, oh no, what will we do? Or if it's just more of a, hey, you know what? 2 World Series appearances, 1 victory.
Guy's had an outstanding career. An outstanding career.
And I just thought...
He deserves to go. I think he likes to go hunting in, Montana or something. I don't know where he goes.
Isn't he friends with Jeff Foxworthy? That's the rumor.
Yeah, right? He deserves to go do that, man.
Yeah.
What a hell of a baseball.
Yeah.
What a baseball. There are people in this world who are just baseball guys. And Ned Yost is one hell of a baseball guy. And he deserves to go out and now
enjoy himself
and shoot wild pheasant or whatever it is he does and watch baseball on the weekends and not have it all be.
And I know he gets paid very well for what he does, but it still is it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work. And yes, he gets paid very well for it. But at 64 years old,
He's accomplished everything he can accomplish.
Yeah, I would have retired.
And they got a lot of rebuilding to do in front of him. And maybe he was just like, you know what? I'm good. I did the rebuilding thing once. We won it. Damn near won it twice. I'm good. Let somebody else do it.
Yeah,
I'll miss him.
Go,
I think
go spend that money.
He was fun to listen to, and his teams were fun to watch.
Ned Yost.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay, I was waiting for it. I didn't know if you were going to say it or not.
Just I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, that, and yeah.
Dead
really
at 72.
No, don't say it.
Take my chances.
No.
Ned Yost
retiring at 64.
Yeah.
So, that's the big local sports news. And you, as a huge Royals fan, and you go to a lot of games, I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Kevin O'Leary, you know him?
Oh, yeah. What's the news with Kevin O'Leary?
Because you say you watch Shark Tank marathons, whatever.
Yeah.
His wife's charged in a fatal boat crash.
So I saw that there was a boat crash.
They gave her a DUI test. I guess she passed it, but I don't know. The way I read the story, she's driving a boat. Some guy doesn't have his lights on. Starboard and port lights right up front, right? Maybe he doesn't have his running lights on. Don't know. Didn't pay that much attention to the article. Mm-hmm. And it's a bigger boat, but she drives it over the top of his boat, and her boat hits people in the head and kills a couple people, or kills one and injures another.
I've seen video like that where the bigger boat it literally goes over the top of those smaller boats and takes them
I feel
out.
like her boat was littler. It jumped into the other one.
Okay.
I'm not sure, though.
Hers was small. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So now she's been charged. I don't know.
People who don't know, he's the guy on Shark Tank who's supposed to be the dick,
Yeah.
What you have here is a terrible plan.
Is that the Mr.
And you should
Wonderful?
love... I'll give
Mr.
you
Wonderful.
$10 for 80% stake, and I want $12 dividends on every crap you take for the rest of your life, whatever. And everyone's like, oh, don't listen to Kevin. He's the... every reality show has to have one.
He's the Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell, thank you. He's the Simon Cowell.
Right? Isn't that a term? Heel? The bad guy?
Yeah.
He's the heel. He's the heel. And then Roy Shevak, is that how you say his name?
I don't ever watch it, man.
He's the good guy. What? You told me you watch it?
I haven't watched it in 10 years, probably.
Well,
I don't know, 5 years.
I think you mean like 5 or 10 months. We've talked about it fairly recently.
Longer than that.
Some binging of Shark Tank.
I see that it's on, and I think, whenever I go through it, I see that's on, and I go, oh, I bet you Slim Fast watches
I haven't
this.
binged it in a while either. I went through a phase there, though, where I was watching. But now when I see the reruns, I'm like, yeah, I've seen all these. Because I didn't watch it when it was new, so it was fun to go through, watch the reruns, and then go, okay, what happened to this company? Where are they now? Can't
I've
do
been
that
doing
anymore.
that
It's
lately.
over. With Shark Tank?
Yeah, I've never watched it before, so I started watching it on Hulu or whatever.
And my drug dealer.
I mean, until some fat said that he did that and then looked him up, so he decided to do the same exact thing.
My God.
Jesus Christ. Single white female.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know what? I've been doing that too.
And then I really like to look him
We
up.
haven't
and
talked
see
about
what
that show in like years.
Right.
I needed something to watch.
Right.
I went on there.
And I'm
I
7
thought
years
Shark Tank
older than
sounded
you,
good.
so now's the
I watched
time.
one episode. I thought it was all right, so I kept watching.
Exactly.
I look it up.
Christ.
And then,
I was about your age when I went through that phase.
See what those
F
companies
you
are
guys.
doing now.
Can't wait till Chiefs beat your ass.
Whoa.
And that technically undefeated team.
Oh my God.
You saw that tweet from ESPN, the undefeated teams. They had to specify that, Lions, they're there,
I know.
but
I saw it.
Oh, I never did get to tell you yesterday. I said at the beginning of the show. By the way, your chance to get qualified for the trip for 2 at 2 coming up here in a bit, so be listening. This week's chance to go to ACL. A huge lineup at ACL this year. But I told you over the weekend I read this story that really scared me, and it's a local story about being charged with murder for not murdering someone.
Yeah?
Can I please tell you about this now?
Yeah, sure. Because if it's possible to murder someone without murdering someone, I got my eyes in there.
So I'm sure
Hello?
I ain't worried about you.
So I won't use whole names here, or full names here, even though this is from the Kansas City Star. It was hard for me to keep straight even with the names, so I'll just give you the crux of it here, but I do want to read some of this directly from the Star, so I'm not screwing it up.
Please.
But the article starts off saying that this person, Jordan, called off a deal to sell $8 worth of Xanax before the fatal shooting of a 17-year-old Rowan. That's this person who died, okay? Rowan.
Okay.
The 16-year-old girl has not, Jordan's a girl, the 16-year-old girl has not been accused of touching the gun or knowing the alleged shooter had one, but she still faces life in prison under a Kansas law that allows prosecutors to charge her with murder.
Why?
Okay, so the guy who was killed March 29th by the would-be buyer. This is where it gets confusing, and maybe you guys can help me out. Was killed March 29th by the would-be buyer, an 18-year-old named Matthew, okay?
Okay.
Outside of the girl's home who's being charged.
Okay.
This happened in Olathe. After she had helped arrange this drug sale. She told police that she watched the victim get in the backseat of the car, and minutes later, he was thrown out and collapsed. And I'm paraphrasing here. But she saw him get in the car, then she sees him thrown out, he collapsed. Investigators later told her that the victim had been shot. Now, she's been charged with felony murder, a doctrine that exists in 42 states in which someone can be charged if a death occurs during the commission of an inherently dangerous felony. Cases like hers have been controversial, with opinions split among legal experts, attorneys, and activists about whether prosecutors may take the law too far. Proponents of the rule argue it allows prosecutors to hold everyone in a crime responsible and deters criminals from committing violent felonies. Critics say it may unjustly punish people for crimes they never committed. Which is my first thought here, right?
Right.
Quote, even for someone that might support felony murder in some cases, they probably would not see this as an appropriate case for felony murder. That's according to this law professor at the University of Buffalo, who's regarded as the nation's expert on this issue. They said that the charge against Denny, who is accused of initially lying to detectives, is basically an extreme example of this law being used. Now, I don't know all of the details. They go on to talk a little bit.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
She wants to sell $8 worth of Xanax.
Yeah, apparently.
Right? She has a guy who's a seller for her, right?
Sounds
and
like
another
it.
guy who's a buyer. Mm-hmm. She says at the last minute, don't sell it to him for
I
some reason.
I don't want to sell it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, backs out of the deal for some reason.
That guy gets in the car. The buyer kills...
The would-be buyer is the person who was killed.
Okay, so the buyer...
Oh, no, sorry. You're right. Was killed... The victim was killed by the would-be buyer.
Right. So the guy who's going to buy $8 of Xanax kills the middleman drug dealer for the $8 kingpin inside the house in Olathe.
Which my thought was, I'm just imagining a scenario where you're angry, like, why didn't this happen? What happened?
Right.
What's going on? Maybe I already Venmoed you money. I don't know what
Right.
happened, but I don't know what would cause you to shoot someone over this. And they're saying that it.
Well, you
the
could
article
argue.
said-
Let me say this. You could argue. Now, when you hear this story, it's ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. But you could argue. Just let me say this, and I know people are going to say I'm crazy, probably. But you could conceivably see where this would matter if, say, well, instead of making up names and getting sued for gazillion dollars, just say me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm selling 40 kilos of cocaine to Snow Cone.
Yeah, I'll take them.
And I tell you to deliver them to him, right? And then you get in the car, he's buying them, and you don't have them for some reason. And he shoots you. Like, for whatever reason. Maybe he already paid you. Maybe he had to borrow the money, promising cocaine. He's like, this deal cannot go south, right? And he shoots you. And then they catch us all and they say, I was the guy who had the 40 kilos. You're responsible for this death, too. You could make that argument.
Which is what it sounds like they're trying to do, and it reminds me.
But it just reminds you that this was over $8 a Xanax, which is a completely
If that's
different thing. But you could see the law making that argument like, hey, if you wouldn't have supplied the 40 kilos of cocaine, you're just involved in this as everybody else. You can't give 40 kilos of cocaine to a 16-year-old, tell him to deliver them, have him shoot somebody, and then you get off without murder. Or else you're
Right.
going to have the Olathe version of Young Boys Incorporated.
But what I thought of is if you go rob a 7-Eleven, let's say. If you and I go to rob a gas station, we go in to rob a 7-Eleven, and Snow Cone's our getaway driver, right? And we all say, like, all right, no guns, nobody gets hurt, right? And then we get in there, and I pull out a gun, and Lazlo's like, what the hell are you doing? You said no guns. And then I freak out and shoot someone. Well, now we've seen this play out many times where Snow Cone is now going to be charged, you're going to be charged, and I'm going to be. Now, I might get more time.
Yes.
But you guys can all
You're
be
going to
charged.
get a lot of time because over there is just sing like a little bird.
So, isn't that...
I didn't even want a gun. I don't even know why we were in this bank.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I was
similar?
just making a
I mean, I'll do what I have
deposit.
to do. I'm not going to prison. Yep.
I was just making a deposit.
So isn't that similar to what
Yes, of
this
course.
is? They're saying that...
Of course, what makes the story outlandish is that, again, we have a lack of common sense sometimes in the judicial system where you can say, man, this is over $8 a Xanax. She's not guilty for that.
If that's what
It's
it was.
not like she was the $40 million kingpin.
Not El Chapo.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're
Because I
claiming...
get if a bunch of people die and El Chapo's the one cutting the deal in between, I get why. And people could argue the other way, but I get why they're like, dude, you're a murder suspect as
Isn't
well.
that the same thing with Manson, right?
Manson
Yeah,
didn't kill
he
anybody?
Didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
So... But
That's
again,
why I always said
again,
Manson should be free.
The common sense thing, like Lazlo's saying, back to the $8
Well, you
with
don't
the
think
Xanax.
he didn't do anything?
No, yeah.
He didn't do anything.
I get it, but yeah, just keep that. He can't play with the other.
Oh, yeah,
animals.
just put him in there
He needs to
because
be
he didn't
locked
do
up.
anything, but we
Yeah.
don't like him. He's a weirdo.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I think it's not that they didn't like him. They're saying he's a threat to society.
Yeah. He can't play with the other
He
animals.
didn't do anything.
So, $8 worth of Xanax is what grabs your attention here.
The martyr is what he is.
Okay.
That's what grabs your attention.
What? That bothers you?
Yeah. he's
That's
not
too far?
He's not a martyr.
We didn't do anything.
And by the way,
He did.
this story is crazy
What'd he
because
do?
there's
He encourages people to kill.
I don't know that to be true.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
Well,
Tex said he did it
was
all on
found
his
guilty,
own.
right? So, yeah.
But Tex said he did it all on his own.
But he was found guilty. I mean, by a jury of our peers and court
well,
of
then
law.
everybody who's found guilty just, lock
his
him up.
He
behavior
was found
since
guilty.
hasn't
So we do know that.
given me a whole lot of doubt that
Yeah.
he probably
Yeah, he did it.
needs to be separated. But
You too.
listen, let me give you another analogy here and just ask if this would be the same. And this story is worth reading the whole thing because there's another person who we don't even know if that person was there or not, who was also being charged, who's a teenager. But let's say that you have a prescription for something people want, which you do, right? You get prescriptions for stuff people want. Okay, so let's say that you say, let's say that I ask you, I say, hey, Lazlo, I know that you get prescriptions for Xanax, which I don't know that's actually one of them, but I know that you get prescriptions for Xanax. I got someone downstairs who would do anything for a Xanax. They'll give you $20 for one Xanax, right?
Sure.
And you say, okay, all right. And so I say, great, I'll go get them. And then when I come upstairs, you're like, nah, I don't want to sell the Xanax, forget about it.
Right.
And something happens during that time for some unknown reason, a scuffle, someone gets shot and killed. Would that be similar to what's happening here? Or are they telling me that this is so different somehow that I shouldn't think of it like that? Because I can't help but think of it like that. I can't help but think of it in those terms, trying to imagine that someone says, here, you want this marijuana, selling marijuana illegally. Here's a weed cartridge or whatever. It's $30. You know what? I don't want to sell it. And pretending like I'm the seller. Okay, I've got this extra weed cartridge.
Sure, I know what you're saying.
I changed my mind. Somehow 2 other people get in a fight about this. Someone gets killed. And because it somehow involved me, I can be charged with murder for that? Look, I already have enough stuff going on that scares me, keeps me indoors most of the time. This is too much. And they're kids, they're teenagers. A felony murder?
No, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
That's what I'm saying. If that's the time, then I need to watch myself with some of those crimes. Just be a little more careful. And I would hope
she wouldn't get life in prison over
right, life in prison.
$8 of Xanax.
Right.
Which, by the way, how much did $8 Xanax buy you?
No idea. Is that 1 pill? 2?
10 pills?
I wouldn't think 10. Unless that was part of why people got so angry. There were some lofty promises being made.
How much does Xanax cost you when you buy them?
I have a prescription.
Right. How much do they cost you?
With my insurance?
Yeah.
$15 a bottle.
You don't even get the good insurance?
Yeah, I've got the good insurance.
Mine's like $4.99 a bottle.
Mine's $15 a bottle, and then if they only cover it every other month because they want it to be mailed directly to my house 6 months worth at a time, and the doctors have told them that's not legal, and they're like, well, then I guess you don't get the discount. So, health insurance is doing pretty good, or whatever that is. Prescription coverage.
Must have different.
Well, I think we have slightly different prescriptions, too. What we're getting is slightly different.
Different plans.
Maybe.
Does yours say Gold Star Cadillac when you sign on it?
It's the most expensive one. I don't know. But maybe they offer you an even more expensive one. I know that every other month I pay out of pocket. And they find, like discount coupon codes or whatever for my prescriptions. Here you go. We can knock this down. This month it'll be $56. You go, okay, whatever. You got to pay it.
Yeah.
There was another story about someone using a counterfeit $100 bill. This whole thing is just insane. It's just insane. I didn't know that. Did you know that you could be charged with murder for that?
What'd you do last night?
Did you know?
What'd you do last night?
Last night, went home, ate leftovers.
What was leftover?
Ran to the store, Mexican food from Sunday, and walked the dogs. And
drug deals can go south quick, just like Slim's mom.
Oh, snow cone! Even you're in this time. That was
a good one.
That was snow cone laugh worthy.
That was good.
Yeah, I ate leftovers, walked the dog, and watched TV. What'd you do?
I watched TV and made Hamburger Helper.
I turned on the game, and then I saw who was playing, and I was like,
I watched it for a little bit. I could watch anything. Laid on the couch, and then I took a Xanax and went to bed. I was in bed by like 9 o'clock.
Nice.
I went to bed pretty early, too.
I watched that Midsommar.
Oh, yeah? Midsommar?
Jesus, man.
Well, now this is a movie that the critics love this movie. This was the scary movie of the year. Where it's been in theaters for 7 months or something. I said that I laughed in the theater and that the guy behind me was also trying to kind of stifle his laughter because I think his girlfriend was getting mad too, and my girlfriend was getting mad at me because I kept chuckling.
Yeah.
Did you laugh?
Yeah, but not at the part that you laughed.
Did you see it in theaters?
No, I watched it at home.
Okay. I think part of it is when you're in theaters and there's people around you and you're, that feeling of I gotta be quiet.
That part had its intended effect. It was like it was shocking to me.
Hey, we gotta do this 2 o'clock thing.
Yeah.
2:47.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure you know. We got a producer in there who's supposed to keep us on time, but
I got you. We got 10 minutes.
she's got a drug problem.
What?
You have a drug problem.
I was uncalled for. I didn't do anything wrong.
But you still have a drug problem. Sometimes time gets away from you.
All right. Someone's a little cranky today. Let's get
I'm
some
not
whiskey.
cranky. I'm just saying he has a drug problem.
You're a little cranky.
He
We'll
tried
give
to
you
buy some
whiskey.
Xanax and the
You got
girl
any
backed out.
some Xanax?
I have Xanax.
His pharmacist backed out at the last.
Who, me?
Yeah.
You gave me Xanax.
Well, do you have any whiskey?
Oh, yeah, I could use that.
That's good. Mix those.
What's the worst that could happen?
Death. While I'm watching, you choke on your own vomit. Something horrible. Something I can't get out of my head.
I'm not going to die.
As I weep. As I weep over
You
your
really
corpse.
think I'm going to die?
Someday.
Yeah, but from whiskey and Xanax today?
I hope not.
You think it's possible?
Sure.
You don't know me.
I do.
You don't know me.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm no coward. Give me 2 of them.
2
Of both of them.
Great.
2 whiskeys,
I'll tell you
2
what.
Xanax.
You distract him. Let's do the trip for 2 at 2. Now listen, people. When you do this and you get qualified, you're qualified. That's it. You don't have to do it 96 times or anything like that. It's different than Ticket Fairy. You're qualified.
text
And
it
then,
once.
yes, and then you listen on Friday.
This is the Church of Lazlo.
Flashing with paparazzi involved in an incident.
These infected monkeys.
This is Headlines on the Church of Lazlo.
Yo! Before we get to the news and headlines there, Sugar Wiener, real quick, if you have a chance, just text question to 96500. It's a very simple question. We're just curious on your responses, if you don't mind. We're not trying to sell you anything. Doesn't matter. Just text question to 96500. All right, now, hit me with that news and information, old Sugar Wiener.
All right. Well,
I tried to say that like Chibamato.
you did a good job. Sugar wiener. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. No, we're not. I don't know. Anyway, no one knows who Chibamato is. Anyway,
No,
they're like,
no
what the
one
hell are you
cares.
talking about? Dallas. We talked about the story when it happened. There was a police officer who she was walking into what she thought was her apartment, and she shot the resident there, Botham Jean. She thought that this person was an intruder. This guy happened to be black. She is white. You know, this was just another. Well, let's drop that part. The point is, she shot this guy. Her trial is now happening, right? And for some reason, the prosecution has decided that it's important to note that this officer who's been charged, Amber Geiger, that she was exchanging sexually explicit or salacious text messages with a coworker at the time of the shooting, basically right before the shooting. That as she was walking into the apartment, she would have been
So,
making these
explain this
texts.
to me now?
I don't understand why this is important, but
Okay, so she's making sexually
she's on
explicit
trial.
texts.
She's on trial, and so now the prosecution's like, here's some stuff you should know, what we're learning about the case. And the prosecution has said that she had exchanged sexually explicit text messages and pictures on the day that she shot this guy. And
With that guy?
No.
Just with someone in general.
A coworker. I just said with a
I
coworker.
know, but I didn't know if the guy's the same guy.
No. A coworker.
But the guy she killed isn't her coworker.
No.
Okay.
That
All right.
guy was not a coworker. She's a cop, and the coworker is also a cop of some sort.
Okay.
And they had this conversation. Now, prosecutors say that she has this conversation that's ongoing. They share these text messages with the jury. And somehow, I guess the press got a hold of some of this, too. It's a weird thing to just imagine that you are on trial for something like, my worst fear currently is running over someone on one of those electric scooters. And they
Right.
say, all right, here's the proof. It's one thing to say, we know that he was distracted because he sent messages to Lazlo at this time, and then to Brooke at this time, and then to Snowcone, and then back to Brooke. But what do you have to share what the messages were? And then they even brought the guy that she was having these chats with up on the stand, and he's like, yeah, here's what I remember, and I don't remember everything from that day. But they contend that she was distracted by this telephone conversation that she was having when she walked into this apartment and shot this guy.
And she shoots at him twice. And for her errors, for her omissions, Botham paid the ultimate price. In front of Botham's apartment is this extremely obvious bright red floor mat.
Okay, so he's saying in front of Botham, that's the victim's apartment, is this extremely obvious bright red floor mat. And he holds up this red floor mat. And he's saying, I guess, you couldn't mistake your apartment for someone else. You would You would notice when you walk up.
I guess unless it's you, you'd be like, "Oh, well, it's a square floor mat, sir." Was it a circle floor mat? Because mine's a circle, so I just walked by it. They'd be like, "But sir, yours is black, hers is red." You're like, "You know what? I don't look at color."
For people who don't understand why this is being mentioned, one time I forgot the color of a rental car that I drove for a day. Anyway, the defense says this is ridiculous, that because of the floor mat she should have known.
To say that she was aware there was a red doormat and knowingly ignored it because she wanted to go into 1478 and shoot this man is preposterous.
So, prosecutors contend that she was distracted by this telephone conversation and these text messages when she mistook this guy's apartment for hers and entered and believed him to be an intruder and shot.
Was she texting at that exact moment?
So prosecutors questioned this guy for about 16 minutes, questioned this guy about their 16-minute phone conversation that they had, and apparently this conversation was happening around the time that she's walking up to the door. Could have been happening exactly, they don't know exactly the moment that she walked through that front door. It's kind of like when you get in an accident and the cops take your phone and they plug it into the computer and they try and figure out, all right, what time did the accident happen? Did he check his phone at that moment, or could it have been 2 minutes earlier at the stoplight? Sometimes it can be tough to tell. But he denied that this conversation had anything to do with them seeing each other later that evening. And my whole thing with
who cares?
Right, who cares? I'm really confused as to why prosecutors are so concerned about this, other than if they think that this guy knew about what was going on, right? And then somehow helped her to cover up. Like if he had told her or she had told him, oh my God, this had happened, then I could understand, right? If they said, she shot this guy and then she tells this guy that she's talking to, oh my God, I just shot this guy, and he deletes the text messages or whatever, then I could understand. But he said that he didn't know that any of this had happened. So I don't know. Maybe they have some evidence that he does, and that will come out. But she's on trial right now, so that's happening.
I hope they never look at the text messages you send me before you kill people.
I wish there were a way to truly delete text messages, Well, we've learned that there really isn't. There just really, really isn't. I mean, except, when we use our little thing. And even then, I don't know that helps, our little apps that we use.
It should, shouldn't it?
I like to think that it does, but who knows? Did you see this guy that...
if you want to text me, you can find me on Confide. Are you guys on that too?
I switched to Signal. Everyone's like, oh, I don't have Confide. So I just started using Signal.
I don't even know my name on it, though.
A guy, they think he's suicidal, trying to kill himself, and for some reason, he decides to take his child with him, which... mental health and all that stuff and what's going through that person's mind in that moment, you have no idea. But to do this in public, this guy jumped in front of a subway train and took his little girl with him, like held her by the hand and jumped in front of the subway train. And there were a bunch of bystanders there who see it. She's 5 years old. She's trapped under the train. And luckily, they were able to get her out from under the train. Her dad was a 45-year-old Bronx man. And he held on to her as he jumped, and everyone screams. The train stops, and this guy who helped get her out is telling her to, I think he says, crawl like a puppy dog. Crawl towards me like a puppy dog. There's actually video that some people have taken of her crawling out from under this train.
The only thing I think about in the moment is that the baby is still alive. She told me, what happened to my daddy? And then I say, don't look at your daddy. Come to me. Come like a puppy.
So the police say that she got lucky. The only visible signs of injury were like a small trickle of blood. Following the incident, the little girl, she's taken to the hospital, whatever, and they say that, I guess she's fine. Those stories about the people who kill their whole family and then themselves, I imagine in my mind that something, in some way, now they could be schizophrenic and hearing something telling them, I don't know, but I usually imagine that person is thinking, life is terrible and it's not worth living, and it's going to be even worse if your parents are dead, and I got to die, and it would be better off if we're just all dead. That's like my baseline. That's what I'll start there. I assume when some guy kills his whole family and then himself in the house, that's my first instinct. Then there's also the thought of, okay, maybe the guy wants to kill his wife, right? And he's really angry at her. But once he kills his wife, he knows he's going to go to prison, and he doesn't want his kids to be raised alone, foster care, whatever, so he kills the kids too. There's different theories out there. But as far as just grabbing your 5-year-old and jumping in front of a subway car, why? In front of everyone. Why? I have no idea what was going on in his personal life. They haven't released any information about this guy other than that this killed him, that he was struck by this train. But
I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but I don't know that it's supposed to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess when you're taking your own life, a lot of things don't make sense. But luckily, this girl was basically okay. She just had a little scratch, and these people were able to get her out from under the train. This person who plotted to terrorize Kansas City, I feel like we most certainly had to have talked about this when it happened, but I must admit that I don't have any recollection of this. Do you guys remember a guy saying that he wanted to organize some sort of a terror attack that would be worse than the Boston bombing, and that it was going to target Kansas City and like public transportation in Kansas City and the buses and stuff?
No.
I don't remember.
I remember one guy saying he was going to shoot up a Walmart or something, right?
Yeah, that was not too long ago. Right?
Yeah.
But that
not different thing?
Yeah, no, different thing. This was
like maybe multiple Walmarts or something?
Yeah.
This is a different story?
No, yeah, this is from 2000. This happened in 2017, and they said the story today is that he pleads guilty in this terrorist attack plot. He's a 28-year-old Missouri man who was charged with plotting a terrorist attack on buses, trains, and Union Station. At least I assume it's Union Station, because in all the news footage, like on ABC News and CBS News, they had pictures of Union Station. Well, this guy pleaded guilty.
The alleged mission of a U.S. citizen with a brief stint in the U.S. Army, a President's Day terror massacre targeting buses, trains, and a train station in Kansas City.
So I guess this affidavit released at the time that this all happened said that undercover agents posing as Islamic State sympathizers met with Hester several times. That was the only part where I thought, I feel like I vaguely remember someone posing as being a part of ISIS, but not locally. At their request, he provided materials such as nails, duct tape, things that he believed would be used to create bombs. An FBI employee told him that the attacks were planned for President's Day in Kansas City. He received an honorable discharge from the U.S. Army in 2013 after serving less than a year. I do not remember this guy wanting to blow up stuff in Kansas City in 2017.
Never heard of it.
Okay, well, I think he's from Columbia, or he's living in Columbia at the time that it happened. He's a Missouri resident, and anyway, he pleaded guilty. The cop who arrested the 6 and 8-year-old that we talked about yesterday, first of all, fake news. We talked about this yesterday, that a school reserve officer, whatever it was,
fake news?
arrested a 6 and 8-year-old within a week of one another, actually cuffed them and fingerprinted them, right? We talked about this yesterday. Turns out both of them were 6 years old. Now, I don't know why someone would lie about that. I don't know if they thought, you know what, let's just say one of them was 8, makes it sound a little bit better, or maybe everyone just got their facts wrong. But both of the kids were 6 years old, and the police department there last night said, listen, he's gone, he's been fired.
Reserve Officer Dennis Turner was immediately suspended, and as of this morning, Officer Turner is no longer employed by the Orlando Police Department. I understand how concerning this is to you, and completely understand why many would question this incident.
Okay, so he's gone. There you go. You say I never update you? All right, that's 2 updates in one. One was the fact that they lied about the ages, or somebody did, or they got it wrong. Well, but he has been fired. Huh?
You kind of lied about it, too.
I did. I was part of the fake news. I reported on that fake news. You're right.
I'm part of it.
Fake
you
news.
are it.
Fake news. I'm recanting my fake news. Turns out they weren't 6 and 8. They were both 6 years old. Now, I pull this story because I wonder if this could be a contender for most Detroit headline of the year.
Tie a football game?
No.
Oh, man.
This particular article doesn't have a whole lot of details
So funny.
about this crime, but I looked into it a little bit. A woman was stabbed to death in a home in Detroit, okay?
I don't mean to laugh at that.
Now, that in and of itself is a murder story. A lot of big cities have high crime rates. Kansas City's got their fair share of crime. But it sounds like what happened here is that neighbors called police because a son and a father were fighting.
Okay.
And the father had a heart attack.
Okay.
The father is, I assume laying somewhere. They're trying to help him, and paramedics show up, and they are trying to revive the guy who's had a heart attack, trying to revive dad.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in another room, a woman is being stabbed to death while all these paramedics are just a wall away. There's some neighbors talking about it, and they're searching for someone. Right, but just the idea that they're already in the home, there's already been a response to this, and the paramedics have gotten there, and somebody stabbed this girl.
I think if nothing else, it's nice. I will stab you. You're lucky the paramedics are already here.
Well, it didn't help because she died, and they are now looking for this guy who stabbed her. But this story doesn't say whether or not it was the son who was arguing with his dad.
The text line says Lazlo's going to technically choke Snow Cone to death. That's true.
Now read the other one.
I don't need to read the other one.
Detroit, technically still a city.
So they're looking for this guy.
Father and son got into an altercation. The father was kind of like unresponsive, having a heart attack.
Wildfire and medics trying to save his life. Police say a woman also inside the house was stabbed to death in another room.
The lady that got stabbed was his girlfriend, from what I understand.
It's heart-wrenching, and it's sad. It's very sad.
Now you hear that guy who lives in the neighborhood say the woman who got stabbed was his girlfriend, from what I understand. But he doesn't say whose girlfriend. The dead guy's girlfriend or the son's girlfriend? Because it could be either. I know we assume it would be the son's girlfriend, but it could be either. And this article also doesn't say that they're looking for the son. They just give a description of him. They say, police say the man they're looking for is a black male in his late 20s, 5 foot, 10 inches tall, weighing 250 pounds, last seen wearing a black T-shirt and blue jeans. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. So I assume that it's the son who's getting in a fight with his dad.
Sure.
Then paramedics are there to try and help save his dad, which they can't, by the way. He ended up passing away. And meanwhile, the son is in the other room now fighting with his girlfriend. Yeah. I don't know if she's mad that he's fighting with dad or if they're all fighting with one another. And he stabs her while the paramedics are there.
What I do know is that nobody will listen to this guy.
That is a bold move.
This guy's trying to get you to listen.
He is definitely trying. And I guess he felt like
nobody's giving him any respect.
The responses that he wanted. This next story is really...
I know it sounds crazy, but when you think about it, and you think, would you really kill two people in different fights in different rooms? Could you be that enraged to do that? And your normal reaction is no, but you've never sat in here with these two condescending pricks, Snow Cone and Slim Fast. I could easily choke you to death and then calmly walk to the other room while the paramedics are here and stab that son of a bitch 1,000,000 times.
You good? I got no response to that, other than I'm not surprised to hear you say it. This next story is, it's just barely a headline. It's a headline because it's an anniversary. And it's an anniversary of something that never happened. So you would say like the moon landing, right? But I guess something did happen. At least an urban legend was created. And according to USA Today, this article from one of their papers here, the rumor that Paul McCartney is dead. I've heard that before.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's an urban legend. I've never dug into it.
I was like a firm believer after it was debunked for some reason.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, I got way into it for a long time.
Okay, for
people play the record backwards. Paul is dead. Paul is dead.
Yeah,
that's
like
part
I buried Paul. That was Strawberry Fields, right?
Yeah, there's another one where you played it back and Paul.
I remember
is
playing.
Dead. Maybe if you play back Revolution.
Oh, Revolution
Paul
number 9.
Is dead. Paul is dead.
That's right. I remember playing A Day in the Life, and that was the one to me that was the big deal because it, blew his mind out in a car. And
I tried
Abbey
to
Road
find
cover.
like a brief Reader's Digest version because I've heard people mention it when they're talking about other conspiracy theories. Oh, what are some crazy ones? Oh, there's this, McCartney's dead, and I always go, McCartney's dead. That one is not one.
McCartney's not technically dead.
But what?
McCartney's not technically dead.
The urban legend is that he's dead.
But he's not technically dead.
I think the Abbey Road cover was the big deal.
So at least according to this Rolling Stone video from their website that I found, they gave this quick version of, all right, if you don't know how this rumor goes, I guess, how this urban legend goes, here's some of the basics.
According to the story, Paul McCartney died on November 9th, 1966, after his car skidded off an icy road. According to the theory, the Beatles replaced him with an imposter, a look-alike named Billy Shears.
So, according to this story, the rumor that he died was launched at Drake University. Okay. That apparently somehow that's where it was originated. And they talked to someone, or they talk about someone who helped this guy named Tim Harper, who I guess helped spread this rumor. It says it didn't start one of the biggest urban legends of the 20th century, but he did help spread it. Now, when I mentioned this earlier to Snowco when we were going through headlines, he said, "Oh, McCartney's dead. McCartney's dead."
Yeah.
That's one that I really was into. I'm curious to know. You guys talked about the record playing backwards. Rolling Stone said something about that. Yeah. All they really said was that there was a car accident that he died in, so the Beatles replaced him quickly, and they gave the name of that guy.
The whole theory was that he had died, and that basically the British government told the Beatles, "Look, he's dead, but if we tell the world this, there's going to be riots and chaos, and everyone's going to freak out, so we're going to replace him, and you guys are going to help." And so a few years later, the rest of the guys got a guilty conscience for helping, and so they started subliminally sneaking in messages to the fans to tell them
letting
the
them know that he was dead.
So A Day in the Life was a big one.
But, and how do they come up with the
Glass
name of this
Onion
guy?
was a big
Because
one.
they give this name Billy Shears as being the McCartney we know today, right?
Yeah.
Like Paul McCartney, if you go see Paul McCartney now or you meet him now, according to this theory, you're actually meeting Billy Shears. Is that correct?
He won a Paul McCartney lookalike contest.
Okay.
And that he was
And
like
that
an
he's
orphan, and they took him in, and
and that he's been posing as McCartney since '66. So part of my other question was, if they say that he died in '66, how is this the 50th year anniversary? Well, the rumor didn't get going until '69.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's with Abbey Road.
So the rumor starts there, and then people start saying that if you play the record backwards or whatever.
Yeah, because the cover of Abbey Road, the way they're all standing and the way they're all dressed. And
They
Paul
say it looks like a
McCartney's-
funeral procession.
Yeah, because you got Lennon and White, who's God. You got Ringo as the priest. Paul McCartney's the dead guy, and then Harrison's the gravedigger. Paul McCartney's...
Because he's in, like, jeans or something, right?
Yeah, Harrison's in jeans. But McCartney's smoking with his right hand, and he's left-handed. He's also walking with his left foot, I think, and they're all walking with their right foot, so that's supposed to be he's not one of them. And then the Volkswagen Beetle.
I was going to say, what about the Beetle in the background? Do they say that's the other
The
Beetle?
license plate
Is that
had
a
something
tribute?
to do
Yeah, I think the license plate says like 28 or something, which would have been McCartney's age at the time.
Right.
If he were still alive, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He'd be 28. I think that's what it is.
But there was the car in the background. I remember that was a big deal, too.
It's the license plate on the car.
Yeah.
Says like 28, I think.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the car because like I said, I didn't know about the details of this. But when you started talking about
there's also, did you mention maybe the cigarette?
The cigarette in the right hand. Yeah, because he's left-handed.
Yeah. Right? Is he right? I forget. Yeah,
he's smoking with his right hand.
So they also said that head shape is supposedly different, and that if you look at the differences, if you look at the photos and look at the chin shape and the placement of his ears, that these things are dead giveaways that it's not the same person, that it was Shears. So they think that Shears was an orphan who, like you had said, had once won this McCartney look-like competition, but I don't see there's any proof here that he ever actually existed or won a McCartney look-alike competition.
Yeah.
That's just part of the urban legend, right?
Yeah.
The problem with it that people who are critical of this theory have is that a lot of the big hits, like Hey Jude and stuff, weren't written until after he would have been dead. So that would make this Shears guy either a great songwriter or someone else was writing songs for him. Huh?
They could have had him in the can.
Sure. He'd already written them. I love a good conspiracy
And
theory.
didn't they? Now you're the Beatles fan. I don't like the Beatles, but
love them.
After he would have passed, they would have then went to Sgt. Pepper's.
Because he would have died 66. Yes, Sgt. Pepper's would have came out directly after.
Which is then they're all just wearing like giant hats and they've changed their hair and their look.
The cover's different.
Right. Everything about them is a whole different look. They've basically changed their appearance.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that fed into why did they change their appearance? Well, because the guy doesn't look exactly like Paul, but it's easier to hide him now in the band outfit and the mustache and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones.
Actually, I believe this one. Paul died.
And that's the last song, A Day in the Life, and they said he blew his mind out in a car. People saw him and they recognized him, they knew who he was, and then it does that big build-up and it switches to Paul's Day, and then the last note, obviously. Yeah.
So this says the cover of
he's dead.
This is the Rolling Stone thing that I was reading earlier.
They just had no idea that this other guy would live to be 107.
Yeah. Well,
it says
lost quite a lot of money in a divorce.
The cover for Sergeant...
Not his money.
How's that work?
It's not his.
Is that Paul's estate?
They sue him. They're like, he's like,
that why he gave half of it?
Half of it.
Yeah.
The cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's Band, released in 1967, is supposedly a big clue, with theorists asserting that the image of a whole cadre of the band's heroes is not just a gathering, but a funeral. They point to the freshly dug earth in the foreground, the younger Beatles all dressed in black, and a patch of yellow flowers prominently displayed in the front. Could it be a nod to the left-handed bassist? Fans who believed in the theory started looking for hints in the band's songs as well, and that's when they found the stuff that you guys were talking about. The best known, they say, is the 1968 track Revolution Number 9, which, if played backward, has one part that sounds a lot like a violent car crash, which I would think a lot of music played backwards sounds like a violent car crash.
But what's it
that
say?
can be made out. You can hear someone saying, "He hit a pole, better get him to see a surgeon."
And wasn't it Turn Me On, Dead Man?
He hit a pole, better get him to see a surgeon.
Someone texted. I remember the big thing was Turn Me On, Dead Man, which somehow...
Supposed audio clues didn't stop there. Play I'm So Tired backwards and you get a recorded phrase that sounds kind of like Paul is dead, miss him, miss him.
That's right.
Slow down Strawberry Fields Forever and you can hear John saying, I buried Paul.
That's right.
Now, see, I just remember when Bone Thugs and Harmony put out that... double album, what was that, The Art of War? And it had Tupac. And remember, right before Tupac's part,
right, yeah.
you can hear the Bone Thugs guys in the background going, he's alive, he's alive, he's
That's
alive.
right, yeah.
Which, come on, they did that on purpose.
I forgot
but it
about
was
that,
fun.
yeah.
But I didn't know anything about this Beatles stuff, other than I knew that there was some sort of conspiracy theory that Paul McCartney was actually dead and has been replaced. I'd love to get like a list of some of those. If you have more good ones, I get a kick out of
Don't they all mostly
conspiracy
revolve
theories.
around people being alive or people actually being dead?
Yeah, or things
like
not...
Avril Lavigne was dead and that Kurt Cobain's not dead and Tupac's not dead.
That's true. A lot of so-and-so's dead or alive.
Yeah. Elvis is alive in Cuba or whatever.
Yeah, I do like the bigger conspiracy theories too, like this thing never happened, or the earth is flat, or mountains are tree trunks. I mean, I don't even know if that counts as a conspiracy theory.
Ready?
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust. If you play backwards, is supposed to say it's fun to smoke marijuana.
Okay.
Well, that's just true.
Let's see. Hotel California.
How would you reverse engineer a song like that? I've always wondered. Say you want to put a message in a song. You're Ozzy. You say let's put something backwards.
Yes, Satan organized his own religion.
So you would record what you want to say, right? Like marijuana is fun. And then you would play it backwards and kind of see what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be
And
pretty
then you
easy.
just have to record something that kind of sounds like whatever it was that you just played backwards.
Yeah, it also had to do with the
It'd be
vinyl,
just
right?
back mastering too, but I think if you were just like, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
You could say, all right, I want to
What do I wanna
say
say?
Satan organized his own religion. And then play it backwards and see what that sounds like, Hotel California. Then just, there you go.
Because Stairway to Heaven was like My Sweet Satan.
Don't know.
One of them.
I didn't do a lot of the listen to this backwards to see what they're saying.
Did you ever do the Pink Floyd Wizard of Oz one?
I did that. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I guess it's a rite of passage. But
Yeah, of course.
I did it with, there's like a group of people who said, okay, tonight we're gonna do this, and we watched it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
There's a few times that
It matches up pretty well. But
money
all
one
you
was
can
good.
wonder is how many albums set alongside movies would go pretty well just coincidentally if you just turned them on and then started playing it.
Yeah.
What is it specifically about The Wizard of Oz and Pink Floyd that makes that one so undeniable for some people? Is it the money thing? Is that what it is? Just the fact, like when everything gets colorized and the music changes, is that? Or is it the sound
that's
of
what the money
guitars
one was.
as
when the color
tornadoes?
comes in, 'cause that
Right.
was supposed to be expensive.
Yeah.
But it was also when she's walking on the beam at the start and
the
balance
tornadoes
on the
get ready to
biggest
come.
wave, race towards an early graves when she falls and hits her head.
I guess I wasn't aware of all the lyrics there. I remember part of the guitar noise or whatever isn't there like
the
guitar
monkeys.
noise of the tornado or something?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
There was
That's
a
pretty
few
good one.
matchups, yeah.
So, if you're interested, that is now a 50-year-old urban legend, and if you believe it, then fake Paul McCartney is still alive. And
that'd be a pretty good gig.
Obviously has profited off of Paul McCartney's life a lot more than the real Paul McCartney did.
Like if they just called you and said, "Hey, you look like Paul McCartney. Here's the deal. You're never going to believe it."
Mm-hmm.
But Paul died in a car accident last week, and the Queen doesn't want anyone to know because the world's going to freak out.
Yeah.
So you're going to be Paul McCartney from now on. You're not going to be able to talk to any of your family. You got to grow a mustache, and we're going to put like this weird clothes on you, and all of a sudden we're all going to grow our hair long and start acting weird too, so don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to be in the Beatles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Could you talk to the family, though, and use the excuse that this family got caught up in this urban legend? They're just hoping against all odds that somehow their son is alive, and so, they wanted to meet me, and now they can confirm, because I tell them beforehand, like, all right, tell my siblings and family stuff, you got to say it's not me.
No one would be able to keep a secret.
No, it's not a secret. You just say
they'd have to pretend like you're dead.
You're right. My family couldn't
The real
know.
Slim Fast was replaced. What was that, 2005?
Yeah.
When the first one...
2006.
When the first one died?
Yeah, but nobody's ever seen him, so it didn't matter, and this new one's funnier.
No, yeah, he is.
So
there
it
were
got
technically
better.
3, but that doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, I like the newest one, the newest model, 3.0.
So anyway, speaking of driving, what'd you say? Smoking marijuana's fun. What
It
was
is,
that?
yeah.
What'd you guys say? What was the lyric?
Yeah, smoking marijuana's fun.
Yeah.
Smoking marijuana is fun. There's a new study out about the results of, Colorado having legal marijuana now for several years. And this is a study by the Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, which I had to click and see, is that like all one thing? Yes, it is. It is the Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. And people are upset that this study might be a little biased because of what the HIDTA does. Because this organization, their mission statement is to support the national drug control strategy of reducing drug use. Like, that's part of their mission statement. So some people are saying this study, take it with a few grains of salt. But according to this study, marijuana-related crashes have jumped 15% since Colorado legalized recreational pot, and all traffic deaths have increased 31% in that time. Now, the local news there, they just found a family who's been affected by someone who was driving under the influence of marijuana. This guy, his kid was injured and he lost his wife.
Brett Shaw's daughter, Charlie, has been home now for 7 months after a Christmas Eve crash that took the life of her mother, Sancy. The other driver, under the influence of marijuana and alcohol.
Someone's lack of responsibility and their actions over the course of one evening can devastate someone else's life, someone else's family's lives for forever.
Okay, look, no doubt about it. I don't think anyone's denying that you shouldn't drive under the influence of anything, and that driving while stoned is not a good idea, and that if you hurt someone, you should get in trouble for driving while stoned. Well, yes, okay, some people argue that, but for the most part, society has agreed you're not supposed to get stoned and drive. So, this says here in this article, it took us a long time to get people to understand drinking and driving is a dangerous thing, which I had no idea. When I was a kid, it was well talked about. We had MAD and SAD and all those things. People against drunk driving.
In the 50s, people were,
I never thought about
one
that.
for the road, roading. I mean, I don't think it was a big deal.
I never thought about that. So they're saying, their actual quote, we need to get people to understand that it's the same way with marijuana. In 2013, the study says 11% of drivers involved in fatal crashes tested positive for marijuana. Over the past 3 years, that number has risen to about 20%. Now, even if you have your problems with this organization, let's just pretend like they're not biased at all, right? Mm-hmm. Hell, they're not biased at all. Leave it at that. And it's just a good, solid study. Peer-reviewed. Isn't that what they say? Peer-reviewed.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When you look at those numbers, 11% of drivers involved in fatal crashes tested positive for marijuana in 2013. Over the past 3 years, that number has risen to about 20%. Could you, in any way, see a correlation with the decrease in the number of drunk drivers, right? And could you then hypothesize that perhaps part of the reason the number of drunk driving tickets or accidents or whatever has gone down is partially a result of people smoking marijuana instead of drinking booze, right? I'm just saying it's something to
Is
think
that
about.
what they're saying?
No, I'm saying, but they're not.
Are they equivalent?
They're not. Well, do we think it's equivalent? This group makes it sound like they think it's equivalent. I mean, you heard that quote. It took us a long time to get people to understand drinking and driving is a dangerous.
No, I'm saying
thing.
they're not.
I don't know. They don't give that data.
They're not
It's just
giving
something I wondered. I thought, well, okay. Also, in that time, did fewer people drink and get behind the wheel because maybe fewer people were drinking because they got stoned instead? I don't know. I have no idea.
Were those people drunk as well?
Yeah, that's true too. Were they drunk as well? And would they tell us that?
Right.
So don't drive while you're stoned is really what we're getting at here. A truck stop in Louisiana has a petting zoo. That doesn't sound too far-fetched, I guess. And they've had this petting zoo there for
We used to call
a
them
while.
hookers when I drove through there. There was a petting zoo.
Anyhow.
Get them right out there in the lot.
This particular petting zoo,
Ladies
I guess,
of the truckers.
Has a...
Louisiana was one of the best places for them.
What is the slang term for sex workers for truck stops? Isn't it lot rats? Lot lizard. Lot lizard.
Louisiana lot lizard is what we called them.
The
old Louisiana lot lizard.
Look
at it, boys. There's one in the wild.
They call them Friends of the Road, too, right?
Friends of the Road.
I remember that was in Trailer Park Boys, Friends of the Road.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a lot of episodes of those murder mystery shows on TV where the husband is an over-the-road truck driver.
Yeah.
It starts off with the woman being like, he just brings stuff home as gifts, for me, for our daughters. He had jewelry, whatever. I've seen like four of those.
The Happy Face Killer, right?
Different guys. Yeah. Different guys who were like over-the-road serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's not what this story is about. This story is about a camel and a camel getting its testicles bitten by a human being.
What?
At a Louisiana truck stop. I guess someone was taunting this camel. Witnesses say that the camel was being taunted, okay?
What kind of simulation? How did that
The
work out, the
simulation
simulation?
hasn't even started to get weird enough yet. Just wait till we get to the end of the
camel,
headlines.
Louisiana testicle. What? Okay.
I'm telling you, I tweeted this earlier today, but our simulation is running out of memory, and I have proof, just in headlines alone. And we can kind of start here with this. That's fine. The woman biting the camel, because not only did she bite the camel is on antibiotics. That would be a better headline. Camel prescribed antibiotics after being bit in testicles by human woman. But people were apparently taunting this camel. I don't know if this woman was...
Who taunts a camel?
Was just a victim of circumstance. She was what do they call that when you're collateral damage, right? Because she's not actually...
a lot lizard.
Because she wasn't actually taunting it, or maybe she was. But this camel weighs 600 pounds, and it tried to sit on her, or it did sit on her.
I've seen that at a Louisiana truck stop, too. It's not pretty.
So she says that she needed to get this camel off of her, so she bit him, and she bit him in the testicles. She says, I bit him in the testicles.
I've seen it once. I've seen it a million times.
They was pushing on the camel and pushing them, swatting them with the hat. And camels naturally are going to sit down. Well, when he sat down, she was underneath him. I might feel kind of funny saying this on TV, but she actually bit him in his private area. That's about as nice as I could put it.
All right, everyone is okay. The camel's on antibiotics, and looks like everyone's going to be just fine. So, apparently Lazlo's into camels. Camelot lizards.
No, I just thought that lady sounded hot. Did you see a picture of her?
The woman saying, doing the talking there? You thought she sounded hot? I actually didn't see a picture of her. I just heard audio of her describing the incident, but she sounded like she worked with the petting zoo or something, or at the truck stop, I guess.
I bet she worked at a truck stop.
Yeah. Okay, family They have a lost loved one. Unfortunately, this is a lost child, which is a horrible thing to hear. This couple, they lost a kid at birth, and they go out
it died?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it died. They say they lost it at birth, so I don't know if
Like
it
lost
was
it, though, like
stillborn.
it passed away.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So I don't know if it was stillborn or what, but they have a grave for their infant, and they go out and they'll put flowers on the grave and toys and stuff like that. And they've noticed that people keep stealing from this grave, which is happening in a lot of places. Remember that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where he stole the flowers from the grave?
Oh, that's
anyway,
right. Yeah.
Apparently this happens a lot. Well, this father decides, I am going to set up a camera. He looks to me like a hunter because he's in the Inside Edition clip I saw. He was wearing camo, and the camera that he used wasn't like one of those Nest cameras, but it was one of those cameras you use to spot deer and stuff.
Okay.
Those motion sensing cameras that are also camouflaged. So there happens to be some bushes near this grave. So they set up the camera and they start watching. Now, they finally get some footage of a couple of pairs of legs of people coming by, and they seem to be stealing something, but they can't see their face. So they adjust the camera a little bit, and later they get a shot of someone, maybe a different person, coming over and stealing from this dead infant's grave, including a pinwheel. This is an old man who reaches down and picks up this pinwheel from the grave.
Sure.
So the family says, we want to know who this person is. We want to know who this guy is. They tell a cop. Cop says, you know what? This whole story hits home awfully close to me because I lost a sibling at birth or something like that. Like one of his siblings died at birth.
Sure.
And they have a plot or whatever you call it that's right near where this one is. We don't want people stealing from graves, so I'm going to look into this. They find the guy who was stealing, or at least who stole this pinwheel.
And he was?
And he was this 70-some-year-old man. Now, the family says, we would really like to talk to this guy and see if we can get an apology from him because we feel like we deserve an apology. So you're going to hear the family talking about it, and then you're going to hear the old man who was the one caught stealing.
These are Dollar Tree items, so I mean, they can go buy them themselves. So what's the purpose of them stealing from an infant's grave? I was shocked and angry.
I like pinwheels. That's the first time I ever done that. Normally I wouldn't do that. Sorry I did that. All right. I'm not a bad person. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not.
I don't know if it makes you a bad person or not, but certainly an insensitive person. They, in the story, talked about how many people are stealing stuff from people's graves. And one of the women that they caught in one city, she was stealing a lot. She would go to these different areas, especially on holidays and stuff, like Memorial Day when people are putting out a lot of flowers. And they kept seeing the same van coming up and selling flowers. She owns a floral shop.
Ugh.
She was literally going to cemeteries.
Now, that makes her a lot worse than the guy who just said.
That's what I thought.
This old guy who's walking, probably seeing his wife. He walks by, he sees a pinwheel.
And he grabbed it.
He's like, I like pinwheels. And he picks it up and spins it and keeps walking.
Right.
That doesn't make him a bad person.
Now, if he's stealing
It doesn't
stuff,
even make him insensitive. If he's going there every day and stealing it. But you know what? If he was there seeing a loved one and he walks by and he sees a pinwheel and he picks it up, there's nobody else around, he spins it and keeps walking, it doesn't make him a dick. I'm on the old guy's side.
Yeah, and I don't know how much stuff he was stealing. He could be going on. I saw some.
If it was just that
footage of
one
his place.
thing, and he was like, and they're like, "Why'd you take it?" He's
Then
like,
I'm with you.
I don't know. I was
grabbed the
visiting my
pinwheel.
wife, and I like pinwheels.
Then I'm with you.
Made me feel better, and I walked back to my car. I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you.
Okay,
It doesn't make him a dick.
I'm with you there. But if he's just going around collecting junk,
Then he's an asshole.
then he's an a-hole.
He needs to be executed.
All right, dog lovers. Curious what you would do in this woman's situation because she lost her dog. The dog escaped from a hotel room where she was staying in Montana, okay? It ran out of the front doors of the lobby and it disappears. And they think that the dog was scared by thunderstorms that were currently going on in the area, right? Which my dog gets scared of thunderstorms. I understand that. So that was back on June 20th. They hung flyers around town. They're trying to spread the word through social media because they're vacationing to this town or whatever, right? And so
Sure.
they want to find this dog. So as the days go on, they turn into weeks, and she becomes increasingly more desperate and more deliberate in her search. She says every night going to bed, it was gut-wrenching. Is she warm? Did she get to eat that day? It just tore us up. She ended up quitting her job to try and find this dog, and it took like 50-some days, but they did find the dog.
I opened up my motel door and my dog was gone. I can still feel it. It was just, I got stomach ache. You know, you love your dog so much and you just have hope. And you know she's out there searching for you. You just can't give up. There were days that I was just crying because, you know, I couldn't find my dog. And then some stranger texted me and she was right there in the bushes. She ran out. I yelled her name and she came right to me. I should use another word by amazing, but I just don't know how to describe it.
So it took 57 days to find the dog, and she quit her job with the U.S. Postal Service so that she could spend more time searching for the dog. And that's a question I'm asking dog lovers, because I'm definitely a dog lover. If I took my dog with me, let's say I took my dog to Branson one time, right? Let's say Julie and I are in Branson and she escaped and ran away. I think at the end of the weekend, if I haven't found her yet, I'm putting up flyers and that's about it. I don't think I quit my job and post up in Branson to continue to look for it for 57 days. Does that make me a bad dog owner?
Yes.
Does that mean that I don't love my dog because I wouldn't quit my job? I can't quit my job for...
That's your dog, man.
I know,
Members of your
but
family. It's
also
like,
the dog ran away.
Like that's your child.
That's
right?
your dog.
Yeah. My dog doesn't run away. She knows...
But if it did,
she's very
that's
loyal.
your dog.
I know if my son went missing,
When my dog is scared, she runs towards me, not away from me. But I'm not criticizing this woman or how she raises her dog. I'm just saying my dog doesn't do that. If I open the door, she doesn't want to get away from me. She wants to be with me. But I can definitely understand wanting to find your dog if your dog was lost, but quitting your job, taking 57 days. Hey, you know what? The good news is she found her dog. Let's get to the glitched matrix here. If we can, please. Yeah.
Real quick, just so you know, Nancy Pelosi is expected to announce launch of formal impeachment inquiry this afternoon. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be announced just a couple minutes ago, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, they kept saying that it was going to happen
at 5 Eastern time, but nothing yet. But I did see... Oh, no, it did. Nancy Pelosi has announced the launch of a formal impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump.
Okay. So was that the announcement they were waiting for? Was the inquiry
into Donald Trump, according to the Wall Street Journal and Washington Post? The speaker, there you go.
Because of the call with Ukraine, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
He said he's going to release the transcripts.
Yes, he did. He said, "I'll release the transcripts."
What do you guys think about trying to do impeachment proceedings? It's not going to pass the Senate, so what do you think? Is it going to help the election chances?
I get the people that say you got to do it because
you still got to do it.
It could hurt the Democrats' chances.
You still got to do it. If it's the right thing to do, then you got to do it. There's a reason why we have laws.
Because if you keep telling people in office they can do whatever they want, they can do whatever they want. Then you got to at some point, even if you know or at least believe that it's not going to null the election or get this person out of office, at least show some form of accountability.
You have to try.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play you this this news clip from this next story here, and then we're going to discuss this.
Investigators say Christine Elizabeth Barnett and Michael Barnett moved to Canada in 2013 and rented an apartment in Lafayette for their then 11-year-old girl, but they allegedly left her to fend for herself since they lived in another country. Prosecutors also say before abandoning the girl, who has dwarfism, the couple legally changed her age from 11 to 22.
Okay.
What?
So a couple who has an adopted child is now being accused of abandoning their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original story. What I played you right there was from the original story.
What was the other country?
The child they're in Canada. So they're from Indiana.
Okay.
They went to Canada. They were accused of abandoning their adopted daughter.
In Canada or in Indiana?
In the United States. They went to Canada.
They left the daughter in Indiana.
Left the daughter here. Now, that was the original story. Oh, and she had dwarfism. Yeah. They also said
that doesn't define
during the time. Well, it's important to the story here because at the time they were saying that not only did they abandon her, but they made her change her age legally, and then told her to start telling people that she was an adult so that they wouldn't get in trouble for abandoning her, right?
And nobody's going to ask.
How do you change your age legally?
I don't know what country she came from. So I think they said that she was Ukrainian born. It was Russia or Ukraine.
Because like, a 16-year-old can't be 21 all of a sudden.
Well, here you go. So here's the update to this story today.
Okay.
The couple accused of abandoning their adopted daughter say that the allegations are false and that they are the victims. According to court documents filed at the Tippecanoe County Courthouse, Christine and Michael Barnett adopted this Ukrainian-born girl with dwarfism in 2010, okay? But they abandoned her in 2013 when they moved to Canada. That's court documents. They're accused of changing the girl's age from 8 to 22 before they left, and that they told the girl to tell other people that she was an adult who just looks young for her age. They were both charged with neglect of a dependent, and they bonded out of jail last week. Now they've done an interview. And the mom says that the adoption was a scam and that this girl is actually an adult who made a career out of fooling people into thinking she's a young girl. Christine told the Daily Mail that she and her now ex-husband, they've split up, agreed to an emergency adoption from an adoption center in Florida. They didn't know many details about the girl's background. They just knew that she needed a home immediately because her previous adoptive parents had given her up for undisclosed reasons. Within the first few weeks, Christine told the Daily Mail that there were signs their new daughter was not actually a young girl.
Oh.
She had a sophisticated vocabulary. She shunned other children, and their words, not mine, she had a period. I would have said menstruated, but they said that she had a period.
Okay.
Gross.
They took the girl to a family physician who ordered bone density tests to help determine her actual age. The results suggested that she was at least, at the youngest, 14.
Okay.
So Christine says...
she said she's 11 right now, right?
They 10 when they adopted her,
Okay.
right? Was that what it was? But they were charged with changing the girl's age from 8 to 22. So I thought you're right that they just said something about 10, but that they were charged with changing her age from 8 to 22.
Okay, so they think she's 8.
Yeah.
Doctor says she's at least 14.
She's minimum 14. So
Maximum what?
He doesn't say. He just says minimum 14.
Well, that seems weird. There's a minimum, but there's no maximum.
According to this interview, she says minimum she's 14, and they're thinking like, oh, okay, well then her age is a little bit off. You know, maybe the paperwork from the Ukraine got screwed up. So she says that the family just starts treating her like a teenager. Well, we were treating her like a little kid, and that's probably why she wasn't getting along with these other kids and stuff. And she seems like she has such a sophisticated vocabulary. It's because she's a teenager, so they start treating her like a teenager.
Sure.
But then, Christine says, the girl started making death threats against them. She allegedly tried to poison Christine and push her into an electric fence, and she attacked a baby. The family took the girl to a state-run psychiatric unit to get help. During treatment, the girl allegedly confessed to being much older. Allegedly. And she said she wanted to kill her family. WLFI got a doctor's report that says that the daughter is actually an adult. The letter says the girl has, quote, made a career out of perpetuating her age facade, and she has, quote, continued to fool those who have the best intentions. They say they legally changed the girl's age in June 2012 with the Marion County Superior Court so that she could receive appropriate psychiatric treatment. Christine told the Daily Mail they helped get her a Social Security number and apply for benefits like food stamps, her ID, all that stuff. She gets kicked out of the
Why'd she want to kill him?
I don't know. She gets kicked out of the facility, according to Mom, or Christine. Christine says they helped secure housing for her. Okay, at that point. They're still trying to help. And they continued to pay for her housing when they moved to Canada, which they had gone to Canada because their son Jacob was going to school there. So they moved to Canada for his education. Now, he's now 21 and some sort of a physics prodigy. So the entire family had moved to Canada so that he could attend this really premier school there, some sort of school for physics in Waterloo. While in Lafayette, the girl attended classes at the Lafayette Adult Resource Academy, WLFI, spoke with the woman who was her colleague and
Big fan
neighbor.
of their
She
football
says
team.
the girl just stopped going to class one day.
Fighting GEDs.
Court documents obtained by WLFI show that she was evicted from the apartment in May of 2014. By then, according to Christine, she says that she'd vanished and stopped returning her calls. She fears she stopped taking her medication and is posing as a child for another family right now. Did anyone besides me see that movie in 2009 called Orphan?
Everyone on the text line.
Okay, Because when I read this, I immediately thought, that's Orphan. And when I saw that movie, I saw it alone in the middle of the day at a movie theater. And I remember thinking, this is the dumbest plot. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I like going to the movies alone.
Are you okay?
My ex didn't like scary movies. It's fine. She was
But in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Hey, next time you call me, buddy.
I like going to
I'll
the movies
go with
alone. Movies aren't a social gathering. I like going to the movies alone. Anyway, I remember thinking, if you have not seen this movie, that's the plot. The plot is that this family adopts this little girl. In the movie, the little girl constantly wears this scarf around her neck, or like a choker around her neck, and we don't know why, but she just tells people that she doesn't want it removed. Later, we find out there's like a scar there. At one point in the movie, she is trying to seduce her adopted father, and you got to keep in mind, in the movie, she's actually supposed to be like in her 30s or something and just look young for her age, but the actor wasn't someone in their 30s pretending to be a kid. She was a kid. So in the movie, you're watching this little kid try and seduce Peter Sarsgaard. It was really weird. And when it was over, I thought, that is so outlandish and ridiculous. And like, who greenlit this as an idea for a movie? Now it has happened. Either that or The Matrix is running out of ideas and it's literally recycling movies like Orphan because it thinks we won't notice. It's like, how much money did Orphan make, really? It was a decade ago. Who has time to program a whole new reality for the day? All that news we got to fill up, all those websites. Just stick some headlines in there about, I don't know, like maybe a woman who, thought that she was seeing ghosts. It turns out she was dead the whole time. Maybe a kid who was adopted and abandoned, but it turns out that kid was actually an adult who was scamming families. Just imagine adopting a kid. If this person...
So what happened at the end of Orphan?
At the end of Orphan, somehow he kills her. Spoiler alert! I can't remember if he burns the house or what. He killed her somehow. He gets out of there. It's right after she tries to seduce him. He's not going for it. It's not happening. You guys don't remember this movie?
I know, but me and my dad didn't have horror night, so
it wasn't that old. This is 2009, 2010. Something like
I'm just saying I didn't have that.
Yeah, I'm just asking if you've never seen a scary movie because
I have, but I didn't have that. You've seen a lot of them. That seems to be like you said. Does anyone remember? It doesn't seem like to be a big. You have to, have like a family horror night.
Well, I saw it because it was out and it was playing in the middle of the day, whatever day that was. That I decided to go see a movie alone, and that was the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie was exactly what this woman is alleging happened with this kid that they adopted. There was that kid who went missing in Texas back in the 90s, and he had been gone for, 5 or 6 years, and then the parents get a call and says, hey, it's me, it's your son. I don't remember what his name was. It's me, Timmy, or whatever. They're like, oh, my God, and they bring him home, and they're like, oh,
it's not Timmy?
But he lived there for a while, and they thought something seemed off, but it wasn't him. It was a French imposter who was trying. Remember that? And you thought, that's too crazy to be a real thing, but it was a real thing. I think this might be just as crazy, if not slightly crazier. Someone posing as a child to get adopted by American families and then being cared for by these families financially, right? And then I guess when you think you're about to be caught, you poison them, push them into an electric fence, say, Mommy had an accident, and then you get adopted again.
That sounded good.
And that's the way that you...
Do that again.
Mommy had an accident.
You're a weirdo.
Why am I a weirdo?
What puppet is that?
Let's not talk about it.
What puppet is that?
You guys don't think that's a crazy story?
Well, I don't care about it.
What?
I mean, you told it fine, and I find it somewhat interesting.
That's a crazy story?
It wasn't compelling.
They're
and it didn't
definitely going to make a documentary about this.
The only part of that whole story that made me laugh is when I said gross.
How could they not make a documentary?
Would you agree?
I just checked out.
I didn't say it was funny.
I was trying my best to make it funny, and that's all I could come up with.
I didn't say it was funny. I said
it was. You laughed
crazy.
at that point, right?
That was really funny, yeah.
I said it was
but everything
crazy.
else is just... Bleh.
I'm also arguing with some douche on the text lines. So.
About what?
That we're a bunch of liberal, biased, who don't give Trump a fair shake, and I don't know. Who cares?
Guys,
why arguing with
that
story sucked.
That's the Matrix trying to distract us from this glitch here with this story.
It was way too long.
What?
I just didn't think it was a good story.
2.5 hours of discussion. It deserves a much deeper look. It deserves a soundtrack and tears and close-ups, and it deserves all of that. Mark my words, they will make a documentary about this. The family adopted a dwarf, and the dwarf turned out to be a grown woman who was trying to poison and kill them in youth. You're like, nah, the lady getting bit by the camel at the petting zoo. I thought that was funny.
No, she bit the camel in the nuts.
I know.
That's a bigger story.
Yeah.
She's a prostitute in Louisiana working at a truck lot.
And she was not a sex worker. That's not true at all.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Nowhere in the story did it say that.
She goes in where they have a petting zoo, and a camel lays down and tries to teabag her, and then she bites the camel's nuts off. That's a story, my man.
Yes.
That deserves 2.5 hours. That deserves a real looky-loo as to what's going on.
Okay. Well, nowhere in that story did it say that she was a sex worker.
Nowhere in that story did it not.
Okay, but you're implying that she was with no evidence. So I just thought you'd know better by now to say something like that. This woman, as far as we know, was just there at the petting zoo, hanging out. Camel sits on her.
Yeah, right.
She bites it in the nuts.
Okay.
There's the story. You have to add these little things to make yours, somehow more interesting. I have a story about a family adopting what they think is an 8-year-old, and it turns out to potentially be a middle-aged woman who's trying to poison them, and has also potentially done this multiple times, might be doing it right now. Someone could be raising this person or have them in their home.
I'm more interested in biting off the camel's testicles.
Oh, my God. When I saw this story today, I thought, that's it. Write my check, sign it right there. We're done for the day. That's the craziest thing you're going to hear all year. It doesn't get any crazier than that. Let's just sit now and wait for the documentary.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time? People adopt kids from Eastern European countries?
I feel like they
and turn out
adopt a
to be
kid from
adults?
Russia, and the kid says he's 12, but he's really 19. They're like some sort of baseball player from Cuba. People adopted, they said he was 13, he was really 19, throwing like 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, and they went back and checked his birth record, and they're like, God damn, you're an adult. You can't play in Little League anymore. This stuff is common knowledge.
We're not talking
it
about
happens all the time.
Lying about your
all
weight
the time.
for the big fight, or lying about being a year or two older
lied about his age.
so you can play in the big leagues. We're talking about someone allegedly pretending to be an 8-year-old child.
There's some guy in a
from
basketball
Ukraine
team not too long ago
who's
who
actually
was like 22 and then came back and went to high school. As a matter of fact,
Yes,
we
I
talked
remember.
about it. He scored like 20 points a game or something.
Yes.
Yeah, same story.
It's not, because at no point would anyone ever think that he was 8 years old and feel sorry for him and adopt him.
Same story, though.
Same story.
Just people lying about their age to, be adopted by people and do something. That's the same. It's like 21 Jump Street. You know what? The story's been told. As a matter of fact, 3 times in that movie.
All right, well, we're just on
Doesn't
different
make any
wavelengths
sense.
then.
But how many times does a prostitute in Louisiana bite the
Sex
nuts off a
worker,
camel?
and she wasn't. And she didn't bite none of that's accurate at all. Not one thing.
That's
None
what
of
I
it.
heard.
That's not what you heard, because you heard it from me, and I told you that a woman got sat on, didn't say she was a sex worker, by a camel,
nuts first.
and she bit it in
She
the
got
testicles.
sat on nuts first.
I didn't say that, didn't specify
Well, the
that.
nuts were by her
Said it
mouth.
Sat on her, and she
The
was
nuts
trying
were
to get
by her
away.
mouth.
Well, she moved close enough
The
to
nuts
bite
were
it.
by her mouth.
She
The nuts were
that's
by
where she
her
bit it.
mouth.
That's where she bit it. All right, we're done.
Say that the camel put the nuts by her mouth.
We're done.
Say it.
I didn't say that in the story.
Well, then she didn't shimmy down to its
Close
nuts.
enough. She said that was the only way she could think to get it off of her, was to
Right.
bite him in the junk.
So the junk had to be by her face.
It was close enough that she could bite him in the junk.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the camel put his nuts in her face.
Great.
And then she bit him
Now
off.
that's something that probably happens every day.
Now
We're
that
getting
a
sat on
camel-
by animals.
a camel
sits
puts
on
its
someone.
nuts in your
All right,
face.
forget
Please,
about it.
never happened to you?
I'm done. I'm done.
The Church of Lazlo. 96.5 The Buzz.
Hey.
Hi.
What are you doing?
Just read the internet. Front to back, top to bottom. You know how I do.
Some fast loves hot female teachers who have sex with high school students.
Said no such thing.
You do. You're always in on those stories.
It's that and poop stories. Every day with this guy.
Yeah, he Google
And
searches
poop
them.
stories?
Yeah.
Yeah, you love poop.
I definitely don't love poop. But
Sure talk about it a lot.
I just saw that this woman was sentenced, and I was interested. And 15 years in jail is a long time. Oh, no, 26 years. I apologize. 26
She
years
attractive?
in jail. Oh, well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but hell yeah, she's attractive.
And how old was the kid she had
That's
sex
how it
with?
makes the story for SwimFast.
It doesn't, because I've been looking
if
through
it's an
all
older
of these.
teacher that isn't attractive, you don't talk about
She is an older teacher. I've been reading through all of these. I've been telling Lazlo, we've been going through, we've been looking at The legalese here, trying to figure out how they.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Different charges against people. This woman.
The difference between first-degree sodomy and third-degree sodomy, I had to look up. What?
Well, that was off the air for a reason that we were looking that up.
Why? I didn't know the difference between first and third.
Well, do you know the difference between off-the-air conversations and on-the-air conversations? That's an off-the-air conversation.
Rules and regulations of sodomy in these United States?
Yeah, and it varies state by state and bad.
Yeah, but I had a pretty good overview and what it meant.
I think we figured out what was going on with that story. Yeah.
I had no idea that there was degrees of sodomy.
Well, there is. I mean,
Did you know
you
there
knew
were?
that there were degrees in the sense. What my assumption was, since we're now talking about this anyway on the air.
Yes.
My assumption was still, or my guess was a good guess, because I thought that they would say, like, okay, let's say that you're too young to consent, or you just don't consent, either one, okay?
Okay.
Then in that situation, whether I'm too young or I don't consent, then I would say that this is third degree.
See, no. You don't have to dump that. You said the orifice dictates the penalty. And I was like, that doesn't sound right to me.
The level of the crime. Well, why not? Because if they're saying that sodomy is in and of itself defining an orifice and saying it wasn't a specific orifice, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't have anything to do with said orifice.
Right, but if they're already saying, yeah, I'm
just trying to tell you what the laws
they're already
are.
saying you've been charged with
It
something else.
doesn't
Here.
matter what orifice.
You're already being charged with the next thing for using another orifice. So we're going to
You're
charge you with that.
using an orifice that they say is perhaps not
intended for its.
That's not its
that's
sole
not its
purpose.
intended purpose, right?
Right.
I get that. So then, if they said there's different degrees, I assume. I just am
Well,
saying
I'm
that
just
mine
saying
was
that's
a
not the
decent-
rule.
A decent guess. That's all.
It's not like, oh, well, they only did it in the keister. That's not.
Listen. The bottom line here
That's
is
not the way they separate sodomy.
10 years ago, we maybe, we laughed a little too much at some of these stories, or at least viewed them out of curiosity. And yeah, you did. And
oh no.
Now I just want to make sure people know that people are going to prison, and people were also upset that there was this double standard, or guys were upset specifically that there was this double standard forever, that they would say, woman had sex with student, woman, had sexual interactions, instead of saying raped. They were like, if it was the other way around, they would use the word rape. And I've noticed they do now. Almost all of these stories now use the word rape. This one doesn't. This particular one doesn't that I'm looking at right now.
Sure.
But she got 26 years, so I would say that's something.
That's a lot of years.
She has been jailed for 26 years after being caught naked in bed with this girl. By the way, this woman...
She was with another girl?
41, yeah. 41, and she was, I guess, some sort of a dance teacher. And this was one of her dance pupils. And they even have a picture of the dance studio here. And I guess the girl's stepdad caught them in the act. Like, in her bedroom. He's going to check up on his daughter. She'd stayed home sick for the day. Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is a pretty crazy story.
So, stepdad.
You want to know the story now, don't you?
Stepdad comes home and finds his stepdaughter, that he has no relation to, in bed with that very attractive dance instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls the police?
This is the story, according to the Sun.
I'm asking you, did he call the police?
The girl's stepdad caught them in the act in her bedroom as he was checking up on his, they say, daughter, who
Was
had
it
stayed
stepdaughter
home.
or not?
It's her stepdad, but they're saying,
Okay.
they're allowing the term daughter here, who had stayed home for a sick day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel good, I want to stay home.
Yeah, I understand
Court
what that
document,
means.
yes, but I think we can assume that she didn't actually
playing
feel
sick?
sick. She was pretending. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Court documents showed that this teacher, this instructor, called the pupil, found out that she was having this sick day or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and asked if she could come over.
Mm-hmm.
And the victim told police that the relationship started as soon as she had started taking classes at this dance studio or whatever.
What kind of dance studio was it?
Girls' dance studio. I don't know. I don't know the different kinds of dance, and they don't say.
I don't know. It matters.
It matters?
Well, is it like ballet or hip-hop, you know?
I just has the name of, just says Haven Dance. That's all it says. Doesn't say what kind of dance.
Is it tap or, jazz?
I'm guessing it's modern dance stuff like a lot of I don't know. My friend's little sister was way into that. There's a bunch of dance studios in Lee Summit. They all do they're the people who do, they make varsity cheer squad and
I'm
stuff,
just
right?
asking because it matters.
Because they're dancers. Yeah. Anyway, victim told police the relationship started as soon as the classes began, and the Charlotte County Court heard that this teacher would call the teen into her office during class and would kiss her and have inappropriate contact with her. And it was then revealed that she gave the student a phone so they could privately exchange messages, which, by the way, just imagine that someone has given your kid, because you're like, I'm aware of what my kids are looking on their phones. I've got, I can look at it. I can look at their history. Obviously, they could delete something, but I try and keep an eye on who they're texting.
Try to do the best I can.
What if they just have another phone that someone gave them? What if somebody just handed them another phone?
Right, that would be impossible.
There's
and
no
then
way
when
to
they
know.
come home, they just put it in the bushes outside?
Yes. Just
that
hide
would be
it.
completely possible.
Yes.
I'm not like I'm going to go look out in the bushes every night for a phone. I wouldn't even think about it.
You wouldn't know. Anyway, the teacher was found guilty on 4 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation, 1 count of lascivious conduct, and another count of battery. After serving her time, she will be on sex offender probation for 5 years.
Well, she's got to do 26 years in prison?
She started the studio in 2013. It was shut down shortly after her arrest. Now, just one more picture here. That's her. Bizarre, right? It's like the Epsteins and the, why are you, what is your deal with teenagers? Like, maybe you're in close proximity with these teens or whatever, but if you like girls, these girls sound like they're obviously they're not showing pictures of them. Their identities are hidden, but they're teens.
The text line is such a funny place. Hey, Lazlo, you effing a-hole. It doesn't really matter what kind of dance it was. It's not like that matters at all when it comes down to what the F was going on here. Don't be a sick F perpetuating those stereotypes. And then right after that it says, kudos to Lazlo for knowing all those styles. I'm a ballroom dancer. You can't please everybody, people.
Nope.
I was just curious what kind of dance studio it was. It's part of the story. I'm sorry. Details matter to me. I'm a details guy. I like to know. If it was like a ballet, it just paints a different picture in my head. That's all. Is she a ballet instructor? Or is she not? Or is she a ballroom instructor? I don't know. Maybe she is. Is it, what do those country people do?
Two-step?
Yeah, is it a line dancing place where the country people go? I don't know, but all of that matters. Doesn't matter as to what happened, but it matters in the details of the story, and I like details. There was nothing wrong with me asking what kind of dance studio it was.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that.
The media didn't seem to think that it mattered because they didn't specify. They just said the name of the dance studio. I'm going to guess modern dance.
Interpretive dance?
No, just like dance. Like, what the hell do they call that? Just said cheerleaders take those dance classes, and they dance. It's like backup dancers for a pop star. Those types of dances.
I don't know. I was just asking. I don't know the answer to that.
Is that modern dance?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, then why are you even asking what kind of dance
Well, if they
was?
told me modern dance, I'd be like, oh, what's modern dance? If they told me it was tap dancing, I'd know what the hell that was. And if they told me it was, do-si-do dancing or whatever the hell you call that, I'd know what that was.
I'm guessing there's not a lot of 15-year-old girls signing up for
you don't know that
two-step do-si-do
you don't
classes
know that.
in Florida.
You don't know
in
that
2019.
in Florida. You don't know that.
Maybe, but this
you don't know that.
It's in a strip mall next to a Pizza Hut. I don't know. It looks.
It could easily be some sort of country dancing lesson thing.
Could be. Well,
you don't know that.
Whatever it was an assault style dance because
could be river dance. You don't know that.
Never heard of.
You never heard of river dance?
I've never driven by a river dance class for kids in a strip mall, so I'm going to guess the odds that are slim. But That's fine.
But it matters.
Okay. You say it matters, it matters.
It doesn't matter to you?
No. I'm over it. I'm more concerned
What
about
if it was
doing
belly
26
dance?
years.
That wouldn't matter to you to the story?
No.
Really?
I don't know what you want me to say.
I'm just curious.
I don't know what kind of dance it was.
Swing?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just asking what you think it was.
I already told you what I thought it was. Kid dance class.
Salsa?
I don't know. I don't think it was salsa.
How do you know that?
Because she was 15. I'm guessing they don't do
salsa dancing for 15-year-olds? I don't believe that.
They do it, but... Anyway.
Theatrical? That's more like,
I'm
What?
I'm done. I'm done. And we're out of time anyway. So, are you happy now? Now we have to end on that.
I don't understand why you're mad at me.
I just don't have any answers for you. I'm not mad. I don't know what kind of dance class it was. They didn't say. They said she owned a dance studio. When I see that there's young girls at a dance studio in the suburbs, I always assume it's a similar thing. They probably teach multiple types of dance. It's probably not ballet because that's a specific kind of thing. And they do a lot of modern dance and hip-hop, jazz, whatever they call that. That's what I assume. Don't have answers.
More of a street dance type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what they call that.
Like break dancing.
Sure, that's what that sounds 80s, but yeah. Hip-hop. Hip-hop dance.
Like the
modern
Dougie?
hip-hop.
Like teach them how to do the Dougie and stuff.
Well, if that's still happening. I mean, again, I'm going to say odds are slim, but it is possible, technically. Sure. We really are out of time.
I think it was more of a Baroque thing for me.
Sure.
If I had to guess.
Still
I
talking
think
about the dance thing.
I
You
think it
can
was.
keep talking to me about what kind of dance thing it was, but we need to wrap this up. All right? Why did Snowcone just get angry and leave? Where did he go?
I don't know.
Oh.
Dance lessons.
Just stormed out of here. Maybe he has dance lessons. All right. Well, I love you guys. You at least. I don't know where Snowcone went. See you tomorrow.
The Church of Lazlo on 96.5 The